Before we start, I would like to say that this event is recorded as a live YouTube so we can share the good work we do in our community who cannot actually participate in this event today. Um, I would like to welcome all of our guests today to join, and also who are going to be watching later on in the YouTube. I welcome you all. And my special welcome, I would like to welcome Peter Taylor. You all know him. He's the elected mayor for the Watford and the Fairtrate representative from Watford and from Three Rivers. And I saw Brian here, and also is Jackie here as well, and Jane and a few others. You have been doing an amazing work in terms of promoting fair trade. I have to say Fairtrate is close to my heart because of my origin, where I come from. There are many families in India, they make their life because of the fair trade and the money we pay rightly for the farmers in India. So it is very close to my heart. Co-op not only supports our local communities here in the UK, but communities around the world too. That's where we play a great deal in terms of supporting fair trade. Pre-COVID, last year or year before, we used to celebrate this event on Fortnight in our local store. Many events and encouraging customer to participate in the fair trade event. But however, this year it is a bit of struggle because of the COVID and the regulations what we have to keep the coronavirus out of our area. But this platform, Zoom, we continue to work on the fairer world, and that is a great opportunity for us to still continue to work and promote this wonderful cause, fair trade. As many of you are aware, and if you are from Watford, this town is a fair trade town. And we all know that Watford is fully supportive of fair trade, and the Three Rivers as well. We support fair trade. On that note, we have lined up with few excellent speakers, I would say, both from the co-op and also from the fair trade organization. Our first speaker this evening is Jane Burning. Jane is the chair of Fairtrate Three Rivers. Jane, over to you.
Thank you very much, Enoch. And first of all, thank you to the co-op for organising this get together to mark Fairtrade Fortnight, and to all of you who have joined it. Although we aren't, as Enoch said, able to mark Fairtrade Fortnight in the same way as we usually do, it's great that we can get together in this way, at least. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the Three Rivers Group, how we came into being, and some of the things that we get up to. Yes, I mean, it was a long time ago. A group of us were already aware of unfair aspects of international trade. And then with the arrival of the fair trade mark, we realised what a difference buying fair trade goods makes, not only to the producers and their families, but also to the communities they live in. So it's really a quite wide benefit. When we buy fair trade items, in addition to paying a fair price to the producer, which is obviously extremely important, the price includes a contribution for their community, and then the members of that community choose how to spend it to benefit the wider community. There are all sorts of things, education, health, and helping the farmers themselves. So we started the Three Rivers Fair Trade Group to spread this message, and in 2008 the level of support for fair trade from retailers and many other organisations meant that we were able to become a fair trade district and have the signs. We were just a few months after Watford, but we worked together quite closely. So since then, we've continued to work in the different communities which make up Three Rivers. As you're probably aware, Three Rivers is different from Watford. Watford has a big centre, which is great for putting on, one main event, but we work in a different way in Three Rivers because we've got a lot of different communities. So we work with the organisations in these places, including schools, churches, uniformed organisations, and we support the work they're doing to encourage people to buy fair trade items and to let people know what a difference fair trade makes. We also take part out and about in community activities throughout the year to raise awareness of fair trade more widely. That's a cue for our banana costumes more often than not, which is certainly a way of reminding people. We usually, apart from last year, we have a stall in the environmental marquee over the weekend at the annual Canal Festival at Rickmansworth, which draws a lot of people from all over the place. And in addition to encouraging people to buy fair trade items in the supermarkets, we use this opportunity to spread the word about some lesser known items which have come onto the market, which I'm afraid you won't find in the Co-op, good though it is, such as fair trade gold and fair trade textiles, including organic cotton and bamboo. And now I think there's something called sea cell that I'm not sure about. So there are, all sorts of things, and we've done footballs over the year. So that's what, how we sort of expand people's horizons, for fair trade. And I have to say, a big thank you to the Co-op. They have supported our group right from the start. Even before we had achieved fair trade status, up until the present, in very many different ways. This has ranged from giving us grants for projects such as running competitions for schools to come up with slogans, which we then printed onto fair trade bags to help us with, and also the Co-op have helped us with provisions for very many of the different events that we go along to. And of course, last but not least in that list, we do have our local stores in, Co-ops. And that it's just great because, when we have a stall somewhere and they say, oh, well, can I get the things? We say, well, if you live in Croxley Green, it's really easy. We've got two stores now. I mean, we're doubly blessed. For a long time, we had the wonderful New Road one, but now there's one which is very close to me, and it's very well spoken of throughout the community. I mean, particularly when people have been relying more, just latterly on local stores. So over the years, we've been very encouraged to hear, particularly from children, of the increased awareness of what fair trade is and why it's important to support it. I must say that our visits to schools and groups such as Guides, Brownies or Cubs, they really keep us on our toes, as we have to field some very searching questions from the children, and sometimes we have to give ourselves homework to go and check that up. But it's really good to know that's going on. Obviously, current restrictions mean that work's pretty much on hold, but the Fair Trade Foundation, through its website, continues to provide a lot of support for teachers as to how to fit fair trade into the curriculum. And they have plenty of information from around the world and activities for parents to do with their children. So, the work continues, but, it's a shame it's not so interactive, but, let's hope that will pick up. And of course, if anyone is from one of the communities in Three Rivers, we would be very pleased to have you join our team. That would be great. And I would also like to hear from anybody who's connected with schools or groups, and, so that we can work with you. As I mentioned, we do work together with the Watford group and they are kind enough to organise the IT side of our things with the website and Facebook. And one of the other things I will commend to you is the Fairtrade Foundation. It's running some very interesting sessions during Fairtrade Fortnight, and you can have a look at their website. I joined one the other day, and it was about climate change, which of course is a very, very important topic. And it made me realise how it's even more important now at this time of climate change. It's even more important than ever that we buy fair trade, because by doing this, we can support small farmers who tend to work in a far more sustainable way than large producers, partly because they know from experience how important it is to look after their land. They are not the people who have contributed to climate change, but they are the ones who suffer greatly from its effects. They're well used to occasional severe events such as hurricanes or flooding, but now it's just one event after another. So it's really difficult for them. And also, yes, just to contrast, the farmers who are not supported by fair trade and are at the mercy of international market prices may end up having to sell the goods they produce for less than it costs to grow them because of all these extra challenges they're facing. As well as threatening their livelihoods and income, it's also discouraging their children from working in agriculture, which obviously is not a very good thing for sustainability in general. So thank you all very much for listening to what I have to say, and I do wish you all the very best for what you are doing to support this really important movement.
Thank you, Jane, for your encouraging, and well done for all you're doing to promote fair trade in the town. I have to echo what you said about the Croxley Green store managers. They're very well connected. They have got plenty of programs and support coming out in terms of Fairer World and working with local organizations. And I'm sure that Navarup, she will cover when it comes to her turn. She's the Croxley Green store manager in New Road, and the other store manager as well. I'm not sure he's on the call, but we have got a few store manager listening and reacting to what the community wanted from Co-op, and we'll continue to work very strong together. You all know that I strongly say the farmers are struggling. There's a great impact even during the COVID-19 now. They're even struggling even more. And this kind of activities of fair trade will really help them. In that note, we got our next speaker, Daya. Daya is, she works in Watford, Aberystwyth Park as a customer team member. Daya is also very well known in Watford, I would say. Daya, over to you.
Because I went this morning. Well, why don't you?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today, and thank you, Jane, as you've just spoken about a lot of things in the sustainability side of the farmers. I just wanted to dive more into that. Just as Enoch was also saying, I do work at the Watford Co-op in Aberystwyth Park, and I've been working there for a small amount of time, but throughout that time I've built a lot of understanding in terms of co-op and how they operate, and kind of like the fair trade stuff, which really inspires me. So today I feel massively blessed to be a part of a community, a family that holds great pride in supplying products of fair trade. For the past 25 years, the Co-op has led a way of supporting small businesses and supplying products of fair trade. These small business owners around the world, within many developing countries and regions. I hold a strong connection as I belong to a family line of hardworking individuals coming from a generational and bloodline of farmers. Agriculture lives deep within me. Although I have been raised in the UK, my connection to the Punjabi farmers is an honour. Today, we see an ever-changing world of technology, yet the current position of many farmers globally struggle to even make enough money to purchase equipment and adapt to the developing world. As a self-reflection, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the founder of the Sikhs, actually spoke about the values of hard work and dedicated time to become a farmer themselves. Within this primary industry, they related many examples of encouraging good deeds and that of an ideal lifestyle. A message within their Gurbani, the words of the Guru, was that the farmers love to work their farms. They plough and work the fields so that their sons and daughters may eat. In just the same way, the Lord's humble servants chant the name of the Lord, and at the end they shall be saved. The magic of a fairer way to trade is that every process, the story that lies within the roots of fair trade opens a global conversation and discovery of where our food chain supply and products come from. No minimum support price would mean that without the support and positive cycle of fair trade, many farmers and labourers would suffer greatly. We each hold a responsibility to actively support all members of ethical fair trade. That's exactly the reason I proudly work and represent the Co-op, a unique and fair way to support and be cooperative. Let's all join the movement. Together we can cooperate for a fairer world. A farmer's life matters, so when we stand together, we create awareness, and I would urge everyone to encourage fair trade and also make use of the hashtag farmers protests as a voice, and their voice really needs to be heard, and it will be with our efforts that that can happen. So thank you for having me today on this conversation. I think it's a really important topic to be discussing, and also looking at the sustainable way of going forward and how we can each support the farmers and the fair trade process. So thank you.
Thank you, Daya. That was very emotional and very strong views you brought up. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Andy Tomlinson. Andy is my boss. He covers quite a few co-ops around in Watford and Hamel, St Albans, Boreham Wood, and all sort of areas. Andy is going to do a little presentation about fair trade. Andy, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Enoch, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to everybody this afternoon about fair trade. We're so proud as a co-op of our history and our record of supporting fair trade, and also so proud of our colleagues actually in the stores that really bring fair trade to life, particularly at this point in time. And I'd just like to add my well done to Daya there for that very passionate, very moving almost contribution there. So well done, Daya. So I'm going to start off by just showing you a quick video, if that's okay.
Is there supposed to be a sound, Andy? There's no sound.
A supermarket. Here we buy almost everything we need in our day-to-day lives. Our decisions on what to buy are based on taste, quality, and price. But what you might not know is that the decisions we make can have a significant impact. Fair trade products vastly improve the working and living conditions of families in developing countries. But how does Fairtrade even work? Let's take this pack of coffee as an example. Fairtrade coffee farmers don't work alone. They are members of cooperatives and organized democratically. There are many advantages to this system. A central component of the Fairtrade system is the minimum price, which is the minimum that farmers' organizations are paid when selling their products through Fairtrade. Additionally, producer organizations receive the Fairtrade premium. It is up to the farmers and workers to decide how to use the premium. They might build wells and hospitals, buy better farming equipment, or invest in switching to organic farming. Having a stable income can drastically improve a whole family's opportunities. Coffee is the most well-known Fairtrade product. However, there is a huge range of Fairtrade products available, from bananas, ice cream, rice, cocoa, sugar, herbs, honey, dried fruits and nuts, to fruit juices, tea and wine. Even flowers, cotton, and sports balls can be Fairtrade certified. So now, it's over to you. In your daily shopping, look for the Fairtrade mark and choose products that change lives for over 1.5 million farmers and workers worldwide. Fairtrade. The power is in your hands.
Fairtrade, and also give you a little bit of insight as to how we support Fairtrade in the business. So if I move on to the next slide. So we have a purpose as a co-op, and our purpose is to cooperate for a fairer world. We are different to our competitors in that respect, and I think I've met many of you before at different events and things that Enoch has arranged, and we've talked a lot about the difference of it with Co-op, where we are owned by our members and we are community focused, and that does make us different to some of our competitors, and allows us to have this purpose of cooperating for a fairer world and trying to make the world fairer for our colleagues, fairer for the communities and members that we serve, and fairer to the planet. And obviously fair trade is a big part of all of those things. And this is kind of how we support fair trade and why it's important to us. So selling fair trade isn't just the right thing to do, its principles match many of our values as a co-op. So where we are a co-op and not a big corporate business, we're a member-owned co-op, we have 4 values amongst others, and those are equality, equity, education and cooperation amongst cooperatives. And you can see there why that makes a real difference, and it links into fair trade. So from an equality point of view, fair trade benefits farming communities rather than just individuals, and whole communities benefit from our fair trade activity. And I'll play you some videos and show you some things later in this presentation to bring that to life. Also, in terms of equity, setting a fair price, I think we all know that's what fair trade's fundamental aim is to do, is to set a fair price so that people get a fair price for the product that they're supplying. And education, so we've got some examples that I'll talk to you about today of where that fair price has then led into producers investing in education in their communities all around the world and using their fair trade premium to support schooling, which is really important. And then cooperation amongst cooperatives. So we are one of the world's biggest co-op companies, cooperatives, but there are cooperatives across the whole world, and many of those are fair trade farmers that run their businesses in a co-op model. So we think it's important for us to support other co-ops. And then the UK, which is something to be proud of, is actually the biggest fair trade market in the world, and we're a key player in that, with £1.6 billion worth of sales back in 2016. And our part in that is we are the largest UK convenience seller of fair trade in the UK, and we contribute to over 80% of the sales of fair trade products in the convenience market. We've been championing co-op fair trade for over 25 years, and we're at the forefront since 1998 when we began to sell fair trade produce in every single one of our stores across the UK. We often get to things first when it comes to supporting fair trade, and that's something we're really proud of. So there are various versions of fair trade out there. Some of our competitors have started to row back a little bit from the full fair trade commitment. We're very proud that we are a supporter of the full fair trade organisation, for want of a better word, and we believe that fair trade is the gold standard, and that's for 4 reasons. It pays producers fairly in terms of ensuring they get a minimum price at all times, regardless of market conditions for their products. It also gives producers a say in the future. So the fair trade premium does provide additional funds to producers to choose how to invest it in projects that benefit all of their communities. We mentioned schools earlier, there are other examples. And also it does the right thing by both people and the planet, which is becoming more and more important, as I think Jane mentioned earlier. So fair trade tackles the impacts of climate change on producers and more widely through adaptation, mitigation and reforestation projects. And then I suppose one that's really important to us is it just strengthens communities around the world. We are a community-based retailer, and by empowering producers to have a voice in investing in their communities, communities are strengthened and brought together. So that's why we support fair trade and why it's really important to us. I mentioned earlier, we're very proud of our colleagues in the stores that bring this to life. We are absolutely celebrating Fair Trade Fortnight this week and next week in our stores and across the entire business. And we've got a whole calendar of events internally within the co-op to celebrate Fair Trade Fortnight. There's something happening most days for the next 2 weeks. And then in our stores, Navroop, Enoch, Sardia, Nitin and Tom, 5 of my store managers, have come up with a fantastic package to help our 21 stores in Hertfordshire to celebrate fair trade. And you can see a picture there from our Harefield store of Camshire, who I think is actually on the call today, celebrating and engaging with customers around fair trade by setting up a nice display of all the products that we sell, or many of the products that we sell, and talking to customers about our co-op membership and how it makes a difference. The other thing that we're doing in our stores is we have a co-op fair trade products of the day. So every day through the Fair Trade Fortnight, if you walk into one of our stores in the area, you will see a fair trade product prominently featured towards the front of the store. Today it's the chocolate, which is one of my favourites. We have some fantastic varieties of chocolate in our stores, and you will see that prominently supported at the front of our stores. And just a bit about our fair trade journey as a co-op. So I mentioned earlier, we often get to things first. And here's a slide that shows you that. I'm not going to go through all of the slide, but just I'll pick out some of the things that we got to first. So I've already mentioned we became the first supermarket in the UK to start to sell fair trade products in every single one of its stores in 1998. In 2000, we put the UK's first fair trade bananas on our shelves. But I'm going to talk about bananas in a bit more detail in a second. In 2001, we launched the UK's first fairly traded wine. And again, I've got a bit more detail for you on wine a bit later in the presentation. And then in 2003, coffee, which is a huge part of fair trade. We made our own brand coffee fair trade, which was the first for any UK retailer. 2009, a bit different. We started to sell the world's first fairly traded charcoal for barbecues, and that's part of the journey with fair trade of diversifying into lots of other product areas such as roses, flowers and charcoal. And then in 2014, a really niche example of that, at the world's first fairly traded own brand rubber gloves. So lots of firsts there for the co-op, and we do like to try and lead when it comes to fair trade. And part of that, I suppose, with the year that we've just had in 2020, is ensuring that we support our fair trade producers in the COVID-19 pandemic, which has hit many of them very, very hard. So we launched our Global Wellbeing Charter in 2020, which pledged support for our fair trade producers through this time. And we've allocated or reallocated £310,000 in total. One example of how that's been used is £42,000 going to the Takash Cocoa Co-op in Peru, and this provided them with emergency relief food parcels and PPE. So, you know, again, it's important to get there quickly and support producers in terms of COVID-19. In terms of cocoa, we just mentioned a cocoa producer there, another example there with the timeline of how we've supported cocoa in particular, from the world's first own brand Fairtrade product in 2000 through to all of our cocoa becoming 100% Fairtrade in 2017. And then the important thing there, in 2007 along the way, we funded a new school in Ghana, and that's one of many stories that really we're very proud of in terms of how we've supported producers around the world. I mentioned bananas. So bananas actually in our co-op convenience stores is the biggest volume product that we sell. We sell Fairtrade bananas, and in 20 years of Fairtrade bananas in the whole of the UK market, over £104 million has been generated in additional Fairtrade premium for farmers and workers. I'd just like to show you a video that brings to life the banana story, which I think you'll find very interesting. So just bear with me a second.
Water River Estates has been 23 years in Fairtrade. Coincidentally, we started our Fairtrade journey with the Co-op. And for about 20 years, they have remained loyal to us, and we have also remained loyal to them. The Co-op has been our sustainable partner in terms of banana sales. Through that, we have been able to earn some premium, with which we have been able to put up some school infrastructure, some computer centers in the various schools that are around us. We have been able to provide scholarship to the wards of our workers, to secondary, and then even up to the tertiary level, which otherwise would not have been possible looking at their levels of income. So on the whole, the Co-op has been very, very helpful. One, in providing an exit for our produce on the European market. And then secondly, through that, we're receiving some premiums with which we are able to support our Fairtrade projects.
So yeah, just brings to life, I suppose, how we've managed to support a project there and make a difference to a community through our biggest volume line in terms of fair trade, which is bananas. There's lots of other areas where we're very big on fair trade. Coffee, I think I've mentioned before. There's a story there in terms of community support. So in Colombia, Rosa has been provided with new coffee bean drying equipment, and we supported over 5,000 smallholder coffee producers from Aguada's cooperative to improve their coffee crop. Since then, we've used funds from our Growing Stories campaign to support a new community education programme. And women in Rosa's community have taken part in training on nutrition, food safety and skills to grow their own food and veg. So it's about that leaving that sustainable support in place for the producers. In terms of cocoa, we've talked through how we were the first there to get to 100% cocoa. And there's actually a new Fairtrade, newish Fairtrade logo there, which is about Fairtrade ingredients. So you'll be used to the traditional black-based Fairtrade logo, but that white Fairtrade logo with the cocoa next to it is telling customers and shoppers that within these chocolate bars, the cocoa is Fairtrade sourced and it's a key ingredient. And that's a really important point with the Co-op. We don't just sell 100% Fairtrade products. We try and use Fairtrade ingredients wherever we can in all of our products, whether that be chocolate bars, cakes, and all sorts of different food products. So it's ingredients in our product that are fair trade as well as the actual products themselves. Tea's another clearly important one, and actually with our commitments around tea and coffee, all of our hot beverages are fair trade in the Co-op. And again, there's a community support story there about how we've supported a growers cooperative in Kericho, Kenya. So there's that support there for other cooperatives. Fairtrade flowers is something that's newer in our suite of products that support fair trade, and all of our African roses are now fair trade. So when you're thinking about where to buy your mum some flowers, when it comes up to Mother's Day, please do come into our stores because you'll be supporting fair trade by making that choice. And that brings me on to the last sort of slide I wanted to show you before a final video. And that's how you can support fair trade, really. So 2 key areas: campaigning. So tell your stories, share these messages with your family, friends or local community, and champion fair trade. We'd love to see people sharing co-op products on social media and adding the hashtag Fairtrade Fortnight and being co-op. And then in terms of products, just try and choose a Fairtrade product. Try a Fairtrade tipple, whether it's our award-winning Fairtrade Malbec, which I can recommend, or a Fairtrade South African white if you're after a slightly cheaper option. And never compromise on a Fairtrade banana. You know, most households in the UK buy bananas regularly. Let's make sure they're always got those Fairtrade labels on them. And it also extends to non-food goods as well. We're mainly focused on food, obviously, in our stores, but you can go to our website and find out more about Fairtrade certified products such as Tradecraft and Oxfam. Okay, so the last thing that I just wanted to share with you was another video really around our commitment to fair trade wine. And again, this brings to life a great story over in Argentina. And, you know, I think I buy our fair trade Malbec reasonably often, not too often. And I think it's quite mind blowing when you buy it and you think that actually you're supporting a community all the way on the other side of the world in Argentina. So I'd just like to show you one last video that brings that story to life, and then after that video I'll hand back to yourself, Enoch.
When we first came to Tillamookee over 10 years ago, we found this village in the middle of the desert with none of the basic needs covered. Lorjana has been always involved in the community, helping people through the sale of the wines. But of course, the resources were very limited. Since we are Fairtrade certified and we started using the logo on the label, we started to sell more. We started growing with one of our customers, the Co-op in the UK. We decided our first Fairtrade product had to be bringing clean water to the houses in Tillamookee.
Es algo maravilloso el agua. Se morían las plantas, no teníamos animales, se morían las gallinas de sed, no tenías agua para el baño, no puedes hacer nada sin agua.
But that was just the beginning, because this allowed us to dream bigger. And in 2010, we started building the secondary school. Same as for the water project, the Co-op decided to double the Fairtrade premium. And so we finalized the school in 5 years instead of 10.
Les cambió la vida y la dinámica del pueblo. El pueblo tiene otra vida. El pueblo tiene otra vida, los chicos tienen otras expectativas.
Mis planes ahora futuros es poder trabajar acá como ingeniera. Todo lo que aprendí en ese colegio me sirvió mucho ahora en la carrera de agronomía, la que estoy empezando a hacer ahora.
A medida que va pasando el tiempo, nos vamos dando cuenta que el colegio de por sí es un motivador de cosas, nuevas ideas, de nuevas vivencias, y que la misma comunidad está inmersa en eso.
Now we have started to build a medical center with the constant support from the co-op and the wine sales. And hopefully in 3 or 4 years, we'll have this clinic ready that will cover 5 villages in the region with about 10,000 people that today have no access to healthcare.
Yo quiero agradecerle a La Riojana todo lo que nos brindó.
Now they have the tool to build their own future. And this is what Fairtrade is about. You give the people what they deserve.
El agua, ahora el hospital. Vos llegaste al pueblo y trajiste vida.
Ojalá que sigan realizando obras así para cambiar el futuro de muchas personas.
Our story does not end here in Tilimoki, but continues in communities all over the UK. It's like the co-op, it's a bridge between our community here and so many communities in the UK.
So I expect this evening 20% of our wine sale will go up from the co-op. After this, why not? Let's have a bottle of wine to help these people. Before I hand over to Peter, I just want to recognize a few of our community leaders have joined. To start with, Marion. Marion is from, she does a lot of work with Meriden Estate, and they have got this residential association. They do fantastic work, keeping the association grows. We also have Acta from Rotary Club. Rotary Club, again, it does a lot of work in Watford and also Three Rivers, helping all these communities. We recognize you joining this meeting. We got the Watford Interfaith Association Chair, Harjit Singh, and I'm sure that we all know Harjit. He does tirelessly work with all sort of engagement with the communities. Thank you. And finally, Tirath. Tirath is the Watford Youth Council Chair, and she's bringing all the young people together during this pandemic. Well done, Tirath, for all your work you're doing. And this is a great platform for you to connect with people and work with Fairtrade and Fair World. Thank you. On that note, can I hand over to our elected Mayor, Peter Taylor?
Thank you very much, Enoch, and thank you for organising this event. It's great to see you and everyone else on this call. I'm intending to keep my comments quite brief, and I'm a politician, so obviously I'll stick to my word, and if not, you can hold it against me. But it is really good to be with you all. I was looking back at Watford's history as a fair trade town before joining you today, and I was told that Watford became officially a fair trade town on the 5th of March 2007. So just approaching 14 years ago, and at the time there were 250 fair trade towns in the country, and now there are well over 600. And it was great to hear from Jane and the work that's happening in Three Rivers. I know there's close work on this and many things between Watford and Three Rivers. One person I do think I'd like to mention today, if it's okay, is Jackie Connell, who many of you will know was a Labour councillor in Watford who was really passionate about fair trade amongst many things. And sadly she passed away several months ago, but I always think very fondly of Jackie, and I remember being in meetings and she was always the one who would raise the issue of fair trade, and she would, if we were discussing whatever the issue was, she would remind us that Watford is a fair trade town, and that means we need to put that into action. And so if you think about the fact that the Watford Museum serves fair trade products, and they've been very supportive, the way that we promote fair trade, and even things like when we had our contract with Everyone Active, who operate Woodside and Central Leisure Centres, making sure that they provide fair trade products as the default products that they sell at the cafes and elsewhere. So Jackie was a great supporter of fair trade, and I know missed by many of us. It was really great to hear Andy's talk, and one of the things I love about Fairtrade, and especially the events, is that you can eat and drink and at the same time feel that you're doing a good thing, and supporting people across the world. And so as the mayor of the town, I go to lots of events, but I'm always particularly happy to go to events where there are food and drink on offer. And I know that in recent years we've had Fairtrade events at West Arts College, at the Prince of Bengal. I think even outside Greg's, I had my photo taken with someone dressed as a banana. So there's been events right around the town, and of course the Co-op are an absolute linchpin when it comes to this. And huge credit to the Co-op for the way that they, for many, many years, have supported Fairtrade products. Now, some of you might know I used to be a teacher, and one of the things that as an A-level economics teacher, and one of the things that I taught was development economics, and we had a whole session on Fairtrade and its impact. So I'll try not to turn into a teacher now. I thought Andy did a very good job of giving us lots of information on it. But one of the things that we did do when we were looking at Fairtrade was the kind of argument around Fairtrade that obviously most of us, I'm sure everyone on this call, very, very supportive of Fairtrade. You occasionally come across people who ask, critical questions of it. And from my perspective, COVID has once again reinforced the importance of Fairtrade. But what COVID has shown us is how interconnected the world is. And when we're thinking about things like the vaccination, there is no, it's great that the vaccine has been rolled out really quickly in the UK, and a huge credit to everyone involved. But we know that unless it's tackled globally, that there'll be new strands of COVID develop, and it'll have a direct impact on us. So one of the many fantastic things about Fairtrade is that it means that communities can afford good quality education, but healthcare as well in those countries, and can support people. Because it's in our interests, as well as supporting them, and as well as the ethical point about supporting people across the country, it's actually in our own self-interest to make sure that across the world there's decent services and there's good health and education and infrastructure right across the world. And that's been shown again by COVID. I'll just finish with one thing. I thought Daya's speech was really fantastic, and talking about the need for those ethical standards right across the world. She talked about the Indian farmers. I had the pleasure of being on a call recently looking at that issue of Indian farmers, and once again reminding us that things like the right to protest, the right to a free and active press is critical everywhere in the world. And I think it's great that you highlighted that today, and I know that at Watford Council at the next meeting we'll be putting forward a motion on that issue, because it is what's happening there. There does need to be a light shone on that issue, because it is unacceptable at the moment. So thank you for inviting me. I said I'd be brief, hopefully I was, and I'm looking forward to next year having events where we're able to eat chocolate, drink wine, and have cheese, and all these Fairtrade products again. And I wish you all the best, and thank you everyone for the part that you're playing in encouraging Fairtrade in Watford and the surrounding area.
Thank you so much, Peter. On that note, we will contribute. We have got more than 7 stores in Watford, and let's have a party together next year if everything goes well with COVID. We coming to almost to the end of this meeting. What is the next step? What we are doing this year in our local store. I'll ask Navroop, the store manager of Crocs Green, to give us a brief what activities we are doing during the COVID. Over to you, Nav. You're on mute.
Thank you, Enoch. Hello, everyone. My name is Navrupal. I am a store manager of Crocs store. You have heard everyone talking about Fairtrade. Fairtrade is not for us. It's not a 2-week project or some event. We, as you have heard, this is an ongoing thing. I think this year is 27th year of Fairtrade in Co-op, and we are very proud to be. I am very proud to be part of that. This is the way of doing business for Co-op, and although Andy has covered all those things we are doing in our stores for this fortnight period. But we also have ongoing support. We support our producers, farmers, and also we support our communities. Our projects on food share and community support and through our membership is ongoing. So we welcome you to our stores. Come to our stores, talk to us. We would love to help anyone, any way which we can. We have our charities running. We have in each store. We have this area has St. Albans, Hemel Hempstead, and Watford stores. We have 21 stores, and we do lots of charity work. We are connected to communities, and our ongoing support with our communities is what keeps us going whole year. And we ask you to come and talk to us, ask questions, talk to our team, talk to our managers. We would love to help you any way possible. Obviously, this fair trade event is to increase awareness, and also I would just say that we are here to help. Please come and talk to us, join us. And one way of doing is by joining our membership, which is always there for our community. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Nav. I forgot to mention the Councillor Liz Burns from Abbas Langley Parish. You're absolutely right, Liz, that Abbas Langley is also a fair trade place. Thank you for all your hard work you're doing. I think we are running on probably about 10 minutes earlier than what I thought. Harjit, would you like to say a few words about, you working very close with farmers and what you're doing in Watford?
As Peter alluded to and Dare as well, I think for many communities here in Watford, farming is quite important, and people still have land back in India as well, and understand with the protests that are taking place in India, it's one of the biggest protests in the world, with hundreds of thousands. I think almost when one of the protests took place, there's over 200 million farmers that were protesting, and so again, it's about livelihoods. Everything that we've heard about today, how do we actually secure those livelihoods? Because farming is sort of integral to many communities, so it's important that we do actually sustain that farming. And all over the world, I think you're seeing multinational companies that are overtaking, and those small farmers out there that are the backbone of countries like India. We need to actually make sure that we support those farmers, those small farmers that are out there.
Thank you, Harjit. I'll wrap it up. If anyone has any question, just feed us through the chat. I personally do weekly shopping for my house. Last 2 years, I've decided whenever I go out for a shopping, I pick one product, a fair trade product, either a tea or a chocolate. I'm sure that we can commit to ourselves with this meeting. Wherever you shop, our weekly shopping, even a pound chocolate or a couple of pounds tea bags, it will really, really help the farmers to give some fair trade price for them. And thank you for joining. And hopefully we all work together on this fair trade throughout this year. And next year we'll have a big fair trade fortnight together. Thank you so much.